Seven-figure squad, seven-figure squad. We don't stop, we multiply. Seven-figure squad, run it up, we raise the bar. Seven-figure squad, play finesse, we go far. Seven-figure squad, who are we? Seven-figure squad, what we do? Run it up, run it up. Who are we? Hey, seven-figure squad, what we do? Run it up, run it up. Started from zero, got God in the plan, yo. Now I'm counting blessings, God, wealth in my hand. Used to dream small, not a mindset grand. Now I move like a boss, not a flash in the gram. It's a squad, not a clique. It's a mission with a vision. We building seven figures, not just flexing for attention. Faith in the grind, purpose in the hustle. I don't chase cash, I attract it through muscle.
All right, what's cracking, everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Sapala here, and welcome to another Tuesday. I should say 2:48 p.m. No, it's 2 p.m., but 2:48 p.m. Millionaire Responds Live. My bad, it's on me. Just came back from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and this afternoon we're going to be talking about two different Americas. Last week was a big week in the news, if you hadn't seen it from an economic standpoint. One side wants to tax the builders, silence the dreamers, and the same side wants to preach that poverty equals purity. Now, the other side, Texas, last week they cut taxes, increasing homeowners exemptions, protecting property, and saying faith without stewardship is just wishful thinking. While New York toys with socialism, we're talking about socialism this afternoon, in the financial capital of the world, by the way, Texas is busy creating millionaires in the freedom capital of the world. But as we keep it real here on a Millionaire Response YouTube Live, some of y'all are watching from cities where the rent's climbing, the hope's fading, and the only thing growing instead of your bank account is your anxiety. You've been told to pray harder while your bills pile higher, and I know you love God, but you're tired, you're frustrated, you're wondering, where's my breakthrough? So in this YouTube Live, we're going to go straight at it. From San Francisco's collapse to New York City's potential exodus, from the science, I'm going to take this afternoon, the science of complaining and how the real estate industry is about to get replaced with AI. So we're going to discover ways to break through from a mental, financial, spiritual, and even church cultural ceiling that have kept too many believers broke in spirit and broke in their wallet. So stick with me for a full hour here. So take notes, tag a friend, drop a fire in the comment section below if you're ready to build your life on faith and financial freedom, not fear and dependency. How? Let's get started here. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Hey, seven-figure squad, what we go? Run it up, run it up.
All right, so let's jump into it. So last Tuesday night, woo! New York City, first time ever, voted a Democratic socialist for the first time ever to run the city of the financial capital of the world. Honestly, if anybody's here is from Canada or from Europe, what's your opinion right now is going on in America with New York City, the financial capital of the world, its citizens voting a socialist, an outright socialist, to be its mayor? And if you guys don't know the difference, let me just start off by this. If you don't know the difference between socialism and capitalism, I was writing this down. I've taught it many different ways. But let's talk about this difference, this disgusting difference between socialism and capitalism, which is obviously for myself, capitalism is what I've came to love. Capitalism has changed my life. Capitalism caused me to think differently about my life, to see the world differently, to have different results in my life because I wasn't happy about the reality that I was living. Being a broke single father, bankrupt, divorced. So I started to embrace this thing called capitalism. And guess what it was? I was a complainer. Man, if my ex did this, my ex did that, if only my life did this, if only God allowed me to do this. That was my life. I was a complainer. We're going to be talking about here in this YouTube live video, what, from a neurological standpoint and a chemical standpoint, what does complaining do to your brain? And sometimes people don't even realize it. But what's the difference between socialism and capitalism, somebody asks? Matt, what's the difference between socialism and capitalism? Here's what I would say to you if you were a fifth grader. Imagine you and your friends were to set up a lemonade stand. And the capitalism side of things says, you worked hard to set up this lemonade stand. You put your time, money, and capital into setting up this lemonade stand. And you bought lemons, you bought cups, you bought the pitcher, you bought the signs with your money. Follow me so far? And when you sell this lemonade, you get to keep the profit. Why? Because you put your own money, your effort, your time into this investment of this lemonade stand. You took the risk. That's why you get to keep the profit. You did the work. That's why you get to keep the profit. Now, if you want to grow, you want to open up more lemonade stands, you want to hire some friends, guess what? You got to pay them for their help. You got to invest that capital to expanding your lemonade stands. And the rule is this: the more you want to earn is because the more you want to serve. Check. All right. Socialism stand. Here's the way to look at it. Everyone pools their money. They share the stand. They get to share the stand even though people were just standing off to the side, doom scrolling on Instagram, but watching you do the work to set up the lemonade stand. And when you sell lemonade on your lemonade stand, the government comes in and collects the money and evenly divides it, forcefully takes it from you and evenly divides it amongst the 4 or 5 friends that helped set up the lemonade stand, even though 1 or 2 was just goofing off, doom scrolling on the side, even though 2, 3 of you were, hey, you guys were working, watching your friends goof off. Now, sounds equal and fair, right? Even the ones who didn't squeeze a single lemon or pour a single cup of lemonade, they get to share in the efforts of you setting up the lemonade stand, even though they physically and financially didn't even help out. Sounds fair? But after a while, guess what? Guess what the hard workers start doing? The hard workers stop working hard. And the lazy ones, they stop caring. Because the lazy ones, they get paid regardless if they work or don't work anyway. So the moral of the story between that socialistic lemonade stand, everyone gets the same, no matter who did the work. So here's the big lesson. Here's the big lesson in all this. Capitalism rewards what? Effort and creativity. Capitalism awards effort and creativity. Socialism rewards equality of results, but not effort. Both say they want fairness. I want fair things all the way across, right? So they define fairness in a much different way. Fairness in capitalism is this: you keep what you earned because you earned it, you work for it, you got it. What is fairness in socialism? Fairness in socialism says this: we get all the same even if we didn't earn it. Now, some people say, well, Matt, what would the Bible say to something like this? Well, God's kingdom, ironically enough, is not socialist. Even though it cares about the poor, the needy, the hungry, the orphans, the women, the children. But it's based on not fairness and equality. It's based on what? It's based on stewardship. And Matthew 25, my favorite story of Matthew 25 is the parable of the talents. Because the master was giving money based on their ability and what they're willing to do with that money once they receive it. It's called the parable of the talents. Even says that in scripture, to those who use well what they are given, even more will be given. As that master took money away from those who were operating in fear and gave it to those who expanded their ability to double it. And what do you do to the one that expanded in fear? He kicked them out the house. He says, watch out, man. Here comes a gnashing of teeth. So when I read the Bible, based on my factual understanding of the Bible, on my black and white, I see it, God's kingdom is about responsibility, about reward through responsibility, not just forced distribution. So let's take a look at some of these videos that shows what that looks like. So you've got this socialist now mayor that wants to force people in that city forced taxes, forced rent control, forced controlled food costs through state-owned or city-owned grocery stores. And it may not play out well. So let's take a look at this first one here. Here's a reaction here from this young lady who's reacting right away to what happened last week. Let's take a look at this.
You promised that he was going to pay all your bills using the money from anyone who makes over $1 million a year. So before we fast forward to the oops, we're broke part of this story, let's talk some numbers. Currently, there are roughly 80 to 90,000 millionaires that live in New York City and about 125 billionaires. And between those two groups, they already cover about 48% of all of the city income taxes.
That's right.
But now Mom Donnie would like to jack up their taxes another 2%, as well as hike up corporate rate taxes on top of it. And y'all are all out here thinking that he sounds like Robin Hood. But here's what's actually happening. 10 to 15% of those millionaires are already planning to leave. Another 10 to 15% of the billionaires are shifting residency or moving operations out of the city. And another 3 to 5% of major companies are preparing to relocate entirely. Sorry, I left my crayons at home for this one, but that is a guesstimated $1.3 to $2.4 billion in lost tax revenue every single year. And when that money walks out the door, the city is not going to be chasing the rich. It's going to be chasing you. Because when the top leaves, the bill always trickles down. So when your rent starts to climb and your city taxes rise and your grocery bill goes up again, it's not because the rich got greedier. It's because your mayor ran the investors, the jobs, and the tax base out of town. And the only thing that's left to tax then is you. Is this the part where I say, I hope you get everything that you voted for? I know I'm still getting everything I voted for. Pretty dang happy with everything I voted for. Anyways, this was fun. Have a day.
That was fun.
Congratulations.
Salty Tattooed Mama. God, Family, Country, and the Conference. Okay. I don't know where she's based out of, but well, what a fantastic take. What a fantastic. Good job. Good job, Salty Tattooed Mama one. Okay, so here's some thoughts here. You got to look at tax system. You got to look at a city, a state, a country, a government. Is what is my incentive to be there? For example, if I'm America, if there's one country in the entire world that leads the nation, leads the world in immigration, it's America. We champion immigration. We love legal immigration here. So the challenge we have now is that everybody now wants to get into this restaurant. Have you ever been to a restaurant that's packed, but everybody's willing to wait? And that's America right now. If you're going to judge a restaurant by how many people are waiting, that would be a good sign. So lots of people right now waiting to get into America, even regardless if it's illegal or legal. People want to be in America. I got a video coming out this week here about why America is still minting millionaires, regardless of what you think about America. America still is minting more millionaires today than any other time in history. That's coming up. Make sure you stay posted to my YouTube channel here in Seven Figure Squad. That video's going out here tomorrow. I will say this too as well. Every time you make money in this country, and the question for you is how much are you gonna keep of that money for that doubt? For example, this lemonade stand I'm talking about. I haven't talked about taxes yet. If you want to make money and you want to keep a majority of it, you got to be in a city and a state that allows you to keep it. Because one thing to be taxed by the federal government, it's another thing to be taxed by cousin Illinois, cousin California, or in this case, cousin New York. And so he's forcing us to listen. If you make a lot of money in our country, I'm going to tax you more money. Let's take a look at this video here of him actually saying that. Let's take a look at Mandami here being asked, okay, now you're the new mayor of New York. What's your plan? What's your message to the wealthy in New York? Let's take a look at this clip.
50,000 or more. So if you're going to be adding 2% to people at $1 million, that I just did the math, right? Well, that's going to be an increase of 51% of what they pay now. I'm not saying cry for them. I'm saying if they leave, you're not going to get that money. And when you increase someone's taxes by 51%, aren't a lot of people going to leave?
We're saying we're increasing it by 2% of what it is right now. And ultimately, I'm guided by the facts. The Fiscal Policy Institute did an analysis of the top 1% of New Yorkers and found that they leave the city at 1/4 the rate of other income categories. And when they do leave, they leave to what are called high tax states, New Jersey, California. So what it then comes down to is, why are they leaving? Is it fiscal policy or is it actually quality of life? And I've heard that time and again from wealthier New Yorkers, from all New Yorkers.
So it's talk. They're going to go to Florida and all you think is talk.
In 2021, when I came to the state assembly, we had the same fight to fund public schools, to raise taxes on billionaires and corporations. We were told millionaires would flee.
Yep.
And we now have more millionaires.
Okay, so the New York Times is saying that Mayor Adams is trying to gather business leaders to support him, to say this is going to be bad. And
by the way, I'm not so sure. Okay, so one thing to flee the city. My question right now is who's actually coming in? Who's actually coming to New York? Who's moving to New York? Just like Chicago. The reason why we left Chicago is because we didn't feel safe there. with the whole catch and release. In other words, for example, the city of Chicago, the reason why we left is that anybody that gets arrested for second-degree murder gets to be booked and then come back for your court date. They're not in jail. They caught them and they released them back to society. Just come back for your court. Honor your court date and hope you do. The same policies in Chicago, the same policy they have in New York. Do people feel safe in New York? It's all about quality of life. Do people feel, what's the biggest thing that people say when they come to Chicago? You know what they say? How many guys know that? When people come to Chicago and they're comparing it to New York, you know what people say? Chicago's a cleaner New York. A cleaner New York. So the quality of life, what does quality of life mean to you? For many people is whatever they earn, they like to keep more of it instead of giving up to federal income tax, state income tax, in this case, city income tax. Imagine being taxed in 3 different areas.
Bill Ackman, billionaire hedge fund manager, of course, you know of him, New Yorker, he said he agrees with you that the city's broken, okay, but he has a real problem with your economic policies. He said the ability for New York City to offer services for the poor and needy, let alone the average New Yorker, is entirely dependent on New York City being a business-friendly environment and a place where wealthy residents are willing to spend 183 days, the amount you need to be taxed, and assume the associated tax burden. Unfortunately, both have already started making arrangements for the exits. So you just think that that isn't going to add up. And by the way, that corporate tax rate that you're talking about, that's a big increase.
That's matching 7.25% going to 11.5%. And the point of it is that if it works for our regional neighbor, why can't it work for us? And with Bill Ackman, this is someone who put $500,000 into Andrew Cuomo's super PAC, someone to whom clearly money is not an issue. And ultimately, even for him, life would get better. Because what I'm looking to use this money for is to make the quality of life across the city better.
Okay, he's not alone. There are a lot like him, whether it's Ken Griffin or CEOs of big banks. Would you meet with them?
I'll meet with anyone. I will meet with them and I'll explain why I believe in the necessity of raising the top corporate tax rate. And I'd also tell Bill Ackman that I firmly disagree with his attempt to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country, because it's not only against the morals of so many, it's also against the actual bottom line for so many businesses. And as a businessman, he should understand that.
I don't think diversity, equity, and inclusion is going to affect my bottom line. You know why? I have a national insurance agency of Black, brown, and white, and Asian American, you name it, agents, predominantly on the Black and brown community. And guess what? We don't care about. We don't care about diversity, equity, inclusion from the political definition of it. You know what we care about? If you come into our sales force, regardless if you're Black, brown, white in America, can you get promoted to the next level? Can you get your insurance license? Can you go out there and market your business to your demographic, your community, the people that you feel comfortable doing business with in our city and our states? Can you go and get a market? Can you talk to athletes? Can you talk to veterans? Can you talk to people in the Hispanic community, people in the African American community? Talk to people that are plumbers and service and union workers. Can you talk to people in a demographic that you feel comfortable doing business with people that you like doing business with? Can you do that as a life insurance professional? Yes, then you can do a lot of business then. It's got nothing to do with DEI. By the way, this DEI whole conversation wasn't even my reaction, but what the last thing he just said right there, what affects the bottom line is having a company filled with performers who do less complaining and more work production-wise to get results that affect the bottom line. And if those people aren't the person, if you got to work around people instead of working with people, then you got to, that affects the bottom line. That affects the standard. That affects the Coach Nick Saban, who coached the Alabama Crimson Tide to multiple championships. He says 2 things. The performers cannot stand non-performers. And guess what non-performers cannot stand? Non-performers cannot stand performers because they operate in 2 different philosophies. But the practical breakdown here between how he runs the city. Listen, you got a socialist that wants to be the government that forces wealthy, most productive people in New York. He wants to force and impose more money out of their companies, out of their paychecks into the government coffers. So there are 2 schools of thought to manage money better. Either A, to fix the government problem, to fix the city budget. A, I manage the money that I take from taxpayers to be a better steward of that, hence steward of that, to make sure the money is wisely being spent in areas that helps society. Or in his case, which I have not heard, is that. What I have heard is we're just going to tax the rich more. We're not going to do better in terms of fiscal budgetary management. We're just going to tax the rich more. We're going to force companies, millionaires and billionaires to pay more money. So the 2 big practical breakdowns is number 1 is incentive. the incentive breakdown. Capitalism warns this. If you raise taxes too much, Arthur Laffer talked about that Laffer rule, means that taxing people more than 50% disincentivizes people to go in business for themselves and just chill, just get a job and just not put that capital at work. But if you raise too much taxes on the people who create jobs and wealth, you discourage their risk-taking. What does a risk-taking result in? Businesses that create jobs, jobs that employ people, people that take those jobs, take that salary to go out and buy homes, put the kids to school, buy groceries, buy cars, invest their money inside 401k or retirement savings, whatever the case may be. But that is a big problem. And from a believer's standpoint is this: I risked, I invested, I should receive the benefit of that risk and that incentive. But if the reward reduces, so in other words, if I take this risk, my reward reduces. So why should I risk it if I get very little of it or less of it in return? Let me just step back into safety mode. So kill and disincentivize some of the most productive people of your city. Is that what you want? There's a guy like me. Why am I such an advocate for capitalism? I have a 2.2 GPA. I don't have a fancy network of rich friends. I was in Marine Corps for 8 years. We're doing this podcast right now on Veterans Day. I haven't used $1 of my VA benefit, even though I am a disabled veteran, but I just haven't gotten the paperwork to get the money from the government to say I'm a 60, 80, 100% disabled veteran based on my injuries from the military. I haven't used any of that. I haven't been a burden on society. Zero chance. But now I've benefited the government. My wife and I just paid multiple six figures in income taxes. We employ local staff. We create jobs. We create money, making opportunity for people that choose to be around us. 1 Timothy 5:8. If anyone doesn't provide for his family, he has denied the faith, because entrepreneurs are providers. And at the same time, Scripture calls for justice. Same time, Scripture calls to help the poor, the widow, the orphan. But it's not wealth at all costs. Of course, I want to help people, but not forced. Don't force me to help people. Don't force me to a certain minimum based on your standard. I base that on my standard, based on my spiritual desire to do so. And the biggest issue isn't whether you pay taxes. It's whether your system honors risk-taking, honors stewardship, or does it penalize it? He wants to penalize it. Because if you discourage the builder, you discourage the entrepreneur, you discourage the creator, guess what happens? You shrink the table for everybody. Let's take another look at this other video here. This person here, the other one, people responding to, oh yeah. So Adam Schiff here, he is actually in the street, a billionaire in the street, talking to folks in the street, and they're having this discourse about people saying, you need to be taxed more. You're a billionaire. Let's take a look at what the guys that say here. Let's see. Let me refresh the screen. Go here.
70% of my income above $2 million in tax? Yes. Do you think your next dollar should be taxed at 70%? Okay, so if that's the deal, you know what I would do? Once my income got to $2 million, I would stop working for the year. I would furlough my employees and say, you know what? I've made my limit. I'm not going to work for 30 cents on the dollar. I'm playing golf. I'm going fishing. I'll see you next February. How about that? How come that didn't apply in the 1970s and 1960s? Because nobody paid those taxes back then. You know how many? I would much rather. Because no one paid those high taxes. Correlation with the national debt and the lowering of the effective tax rate on the wealthiest people in this country. You're not fooling anybody. So you think that I should pay 70% of my income above $2 million in tax? Yes. Do you think your next dollar should be taxed at 70%? Okay, so if that's the deal, you know what I would do? Once my income got to $2 million, I would stop working for the year. I would furlough my employees and say, you know what? I've made my limit. I'm not going to work for 30 cents on the dollar. I'm playing golf. I'm going fishing. I'll see you next February. How about that? How come that didn't apply in the 1970s and 90s?
Okay. The reason I want to listen to that twice, because I'll make sure that's sunk in well. One guy is operating in the spirit of freedom, America, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because if I'm living here in New York and I'm penalized to make more than $2 million because you're going to take 70% of my money, I just keep 30%. Why should I work that hard for 30% of my income? I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to chill hang out, not reinvest that capital back into my business to innovate and grow and expand divisions, expand technologies, that create more jobs, that create more opportunities for other people. I'm just going to chill. I'm going to furlough you. You take care of however you're going to pay your bills. You take care of yourself. But I'm going to go because this system that forces taxes upon me as an entrepreneur is going to take more money from me. So I'm just going to chill. I'm disincentivized. And what's the other guy say? You owe it to me, though. You owe it to me that I work for you. No, you don't owe it to anybody that you have to work for somebody and they're forced to give you a paycheck. Same thing too with the government. The government doesn't owe you a paycheck. The government doesn't owe you a paycheck. An employee doesn't owe you a paycheck. You owe you. That's a whole thought process behind this mentality. Some says, man, I'm going to earn it. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go get it. By the way, I'm wearing this t-shirt right now. Is right. Where focus goes, cash flows. If you focus on other people, the government and an entrepreneur, they owe you money. Guess what? You've cut off your creativity loop inside your brain. Because now you're in a position of complaining. Somebody owes me shit. Newsflash. Nobody owes you anything. If you woke up this morning and you have breath in your lungs, you can talk, you can move, you can work, you can get after it. Oh, Matt, that's not easy as that. It is as easy as that. If you don't think it's easy as that, it's still easy. You're a complainer. We're going to talk about complainers versus gainers here in a second. Because that's one of the things we talk about in my national book tour. If you haven't done so already, my national book tour called Keep the Keys. I've been on, we're on 9th city, 10th different city. I'm talking about 4 different types of people. The drainer, the complainer, the container, or the gainer. One uses division, one uses minus, one uses plus, and the other one uses multiplication. Guess what a complainer does? He divides people, divides his money, divides his energy, divides his attitude. Does he get anywhere? No. But guess what this guy does, though? If anything, not only divides, but he also attracts those who complain with him. So the division is multiplied. You multiply the division. What does the drainer do? He works with subtraction. He subtracts money from his bank account and adds it to somebody else's bank account. And month after month, year after year, his net worth gets less and less because he doesn't accumulate anything. At least be a container. At least a container owns something. They're self-employed. They're starting their business. They have property, right? Now they got pluses. Now they're adding to their balance sheet pluses, assets. But what does the gainer do? He uses all those assets and uses a way to leverage it, multiplies it. Who do you want to be? What do you want to multiply? Do you want to be a divider, subtractor, something that works with addition or multiplier? It's another way to look at it too as well. And if you're really looking to find ways how to actually do it outside my book, Keep the Keys book tour, I got an event called Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey. Tomorrow, we're going to be here in Frisco Hall from 6:30 to 9:30. It is my once a quarter upscale masterclass and networking event. It attracts a different type of people. Matter of fact, this morning, one of the guys who invested $1,000 to get to an elite ticket, he wanted to invite me on his podcast because he wanted to talk about the downside of success. So a lot of people don't talk about that either. There's upside success. He wanted him to talk to me this morning about the downside of success. But the downside is worth it, though. If your thought process of what the long-term aspect is of going through the downside. Folks who don't think of downside, instead of me being self-sufficient, self-governing, and having incentives around me, policies around me that help me get more of myself, the most productive parts of myself out there, instead of doing that, forces it on other people. If you want to know how to think more like this, come to our event tomorrow, Masterclass. Dallas, here's the theme of it, 2-part series. Dallas, the new financial frontier. The new financial frontier, because I believe the next financial capital of the world is not New York. It's not Chicago. It is Dallas. Why? Y'all Street is open up here. The Securities and Exchange Commission said in August that the Texas Stock Exchange is now officially open for business and ready to do business whenever it decides to go do business. We're going to talk about that. What impact does it have in a city like Dallas? What economic impact does a local stock exchange open up locally have on a global world? And what does that do to that city? Well, look what happened to New York. The former financial capital of the world used to be where? London. And after the titans of American Wall Street started taking over, like JP Morgan Chase, all these guys here, Charles Merrill, these titans of Wall Street that started leveraging investments and making companies profitable. Guess what became the new financial capital of the world? It went from London to now New York. And now, based on what's going on in New York, based on this craziness, guess what potentially might be here in the short, near future with the opening of the Texas Stock Exchange? Not going to be Wall Street no more. It's going to be Yale Street, Dallas, Texas. The financial capital where, thank God, we moved here 4 years ago. And if you understand what's going on here in the city, what are the opportunities? What are the strengths? How can you take advantage of it? We'll be talking about it on Wednesday. Frisco Hall, Cigars Worth of Whiskey. Look at the QR code. Get tickets. We'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon here, 6:30 to 9:30. We'll put up the QR code here, Cigars Wealth and Whiskey. Let's put it up here, Darian. There we go. Awesome. Get your tickets right there. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Tickets are still available, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Speaking of Texas, let's talk about Texas. What did Texas do? What did Texas do on the same night as election night? They elected Democratic Socialists to the mayor of New York. What did Texas do?
By voters last night. Some of the most prominent items approved include a series of property tax measures, including an increase in the standard homestead exemption for school property taxes, taking it from $100,000 to $140,000. The passage of all 17 amendments brings the total number of changes to the Texas Constitution to 547 since its adoption in 1876.
Okay, so let me just kind of break this down, what that actually means. In other words, the property tax school exemption means that they've raised it. So less of the value of a home is going to be used in a calculation to see how much money can be used to tax you for school property tax, for property tax to be used for schools. So, which means what? If you're an owner in Texas, let alone Dallas or Houston or San Antonio, Austin or El Paso, if you own something in Texas, you're incentivized to do it versus somebody that rents. So we've got some situational awareness here about what they're incentivizing. Guess what they passed earlier this year too as well? No capital gains tax in the state of Texas. And guess what they've had already? No state income tax. So all this talk about people getting taxed, millionaires and billionaires being taxed in New York, state tax, federal tax, city tax, increasing city tax just because you're penalized because you're a millionaire. Guess what this guy just said? And the guy before him just said, and we reacted to Adam Schiff. He said, listen, I can go where I want to go because I'm free. You're free. That's the thing about capitalism. It's about free will. Free to buy, free to sell. Free to win, but free to fail. So many people today are worried about getting an ass whooping. To be humbled by the failures of their own decisions. But guess what? Guess what success is? It's failure turned inside out. Show me a successful man or woman, I'll show all the failures that they've been through. That's what a lot of people don't talk about. If you want to get ahead somewhere in your life, you got to learn how to fail forward. Things don't happen for you. Things don't happen to you. They happen for you. Speaking of which, what's going to happen to our population? What's the change here in the next 20, 25 years? What do they expect here 15, 20 years from now in 2050? What's the population going to grow to? The fastest growing states in America. Let's take a look at this.
Is expected to lead the nation in population growth by adding 8.6 million new residents by 2050. Florida follows close behind, gaining 5.2 million, while California adds 3. States like Washington, Colorado, and Utah are set to explode as well. This shift paints a clear picture that the future of America's population growth runs straight through the Sun Belt and Mountain West, led once again by our Lone Star State. Texas is expected to lead the nation in population growth by adding 8.
Okay, it's happening right now. These are trends happening right now. I'll just say this. If you want to become wealthy, you have to identify the trends and get in front of it. Make your moves, cast your fishing pole, or in my case, fleet of fishing vessels to capture the fish, the opportunity that's coming your way. So identifying opportunity. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Is it against everything that you thought and believed? Yes. Is it against what your friends and family might be doing with their lives? Yes. But if you see opportunity, that's what capitalists do. That's what entrepreneurs do. They take risk. Pray it forward. Create the systems, the processes, follow the formulas, allow them short-term success to capture long-term opportunity. That's what happens when people follow through on a big dream and a big goal. Because when you find yourself, that's why we moved from Chicago to Dallas, Texas. Now, I love Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. I raised my 3 older kids in Chicago. I served Illinois in the Illinois National Guard after coming back after duty in the Marine. I love the city of Chicago. It just hurts me to see what's going on with the mayor, what the mayor is doing to that city, what the governor is doing to that state. To see the lack of, listen, I've been on this national book tour called Keep the Keys book tour, touring all my offices. I was in Chicago a couple months ago. I've been in Vegas. I've been in Sacramento, California. I've been in San Antonio, Texas. I've been in Tucson, Arizona. I've been in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I can tell you now where the cities and states that have the most morale are is because they have incentives to benefit the owner, not the renter. Meaning you're not renting your life. You're not renting your income. You're not renting your house. You're not renting the things that you got going on in your ecosystem that you call you. You own things. You own your business. You own your future. You own your income. You have the ability to do a lot of things because you own it. You have freedom and capacity to do it because you're not anxious because you own it. And by the way, if you are anxious, you own that too. There's a lot of anxiety that goes along with entrepreneurship. But here's what I do know about entrepreneurship. If you trust the big man upstairs about your decision, you prayerfully go through and set forth some guidance about what you're about to accomplish, and you bounce that off of wise counselors, not just about people that feel the same way you do. Wise counselors. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but surrounded by a multitude of wise counselors, plans succeed. That's a proverb. So a question for you is, who you surround yourself with to cast wise decisions? So for those who come to Texas, holla at your boy. Come to Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey tomorrow afternoon. Know who the players are in the city of Dallas. Know who are the people that are shaking hands here in the city of Dallas. Come to my Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey event tomorrow after, tomorrow evening, 6:30 to 9:30. We got premium tickets. We got VIP tickets. We have a couple tickets left for Elite if you want some serious proximity. And handshakes. There's a special group of people. I'll be doing a masterclass. There's dinner provided to those who are part of my Elite. It's a different level of ticket, different level of access, different level of involvement. But if you're scared to invest, you got scared money. One thing we realized this past weekend, brainstorming, just business plan with Patrick and David in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We built something special. Do you know why? Because we had the courage to slay dragons for the last 10 years. We did the impossible the last 10 years. We went from nowhere to somewhere, sold this company for $250, $300 million in the last 10 years. Why? Because we decided to take a risk. And we talked about those things during the Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey event. What were some of those risks we were able to slay based on certain formulas and systems we put in front of us to make better decisions? And people think that this is only happening lately. Well, this has been happening for a minute. Let's take a look at this video here about what happened to the Bay Area in the 1990s when these policies started going south. Take a look at
In
this
the
guy.
South Bay, but can't afford a home here. His family
This is
lives 3
1990.
hours away in Sonora. Johnson comes home for the weekends.
What kind of a game was it?
Math.
Oh, a math game.
Johnson wants to sell his Sonora home worth $80,000 and buy in the Central Valley.
My hope is to be closer so I can at least come home at night and be with my family.
Like many families, the Johnsons don't want to give up on the American dream. But in the
shouldn't.
Bay Area, that means paying a high price in more ways than one. In Sonora, Lisa Stark, Channel 7 News Tonight.
So this whole housing crisis has been happening in many different parts of the country for a minute. Well, here's what happens when people just hear about it, but don't do anything about it. I feel for this guy. I feel for his family. Imagine working all week. The only time you get to see your family is on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, go back to work, have a pit in his stomach because you had that long drive to live somewhere else. He's got to live somewhere else, an apartment somewhere else where his family can live somewhere else. So they're separate. His family lives somewhere else. He lives closer to work. It's unaffordable for him to live. And I want to go to San Francisco to see my friend Erico Del Toro, who's got an office in San Jose. The last time I was there, here's what I noticed, because we're going to Gilroy, California, the garlic capital of the world. I noticed traffic was on one side of the road and in certain parts during the day. During the morning, traffic going to the city was packed. Going away from the city, empty. Flip it, in the evening, people from the city were going to San Jose, going to Gilroy, leaving work, commuting, rush hour traffic, leaving, packed, 4, 5, 6 lanes, all packed. Going back into the city, empty. Is that a way to live, man? To live your life planning around traffic? That's a big reason why I moved from Chicago. And by the way, it's not getting any better here in Dallas, Texas, but I'll tell you that. 4 years ago, I went here to Dallas, Texas, and I call it the 15-minute city because anywhere where I want to go, 15 to 20 minutes. Now, with all the people moving in, now there's traffic in Dallas. But it's not that bad as compared to New York, Atlanta, New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco. Ain't that bad. You need a helicopter in those cities. But when we see things like this has already been happening. And guess what? I don't think it's getting better anytime soon if you're waiting for a politician or public policy to fix things to go your way. You can't vote your way to financial independence. You got to work your way to financial independence. Because here's some thoughts here too as well. Let's take a look at this. It's not a video, but let's take a look at what this is. Neuroscience reveals that complaining rewires your brain like trauma. Just 60 seconds of negative talk floods your body with cortisol, shrinks the hippocampus, and strengthens fear pathways. It strengthens what? Fear pathways, not faith pathways. So let's uncover why venting isn't harmless. It's disguised brain damage. What? Most people assume venting is harmless. It's better to let it out than keep it in, right? But brain scans reveal a dark truth. Every complaint triggers your amygdala, the brain's built-in alarm. The message it sends is danger, even when nothing is actually wrong. Once triggered, your amygdala floods the body with cortisol, the stress hormone. 1 minute of negativity creates hours of hormonal chaos. Here's the truth. Your feed rewires your brain. Your Instagram feed, let's talk about that. Your Instagram feed is going to rewire your brain. So right now, if I took your phone and I asked you to show me your home screen, your search screen, what comes up in your For You page? What you see every day trains how you think. Scroll drama all day, and your mind starts to expect chaos. Fill your feed with growth, and peace becomes your default. So what are we talking about here? Let's talk about the two different loops. When you complain, number one, cortisol fills your brain. Every time you vent, gossip, or dwell on problems, your brain releases cortisol, which is, again, the stress hormone. It reinforces the what mindset? Not the victor mindset. It reinforces the victim mindset because your body becomes addicted to that emotional hit of cortisol. It loves the victim mentality. And guess what you see? Guess what you attract? You think drug abusers attract millionaire mentors? Neural pathways get established in your brain. Neural pathways wire and strengthen negativity. Complaint strengthens the synaptic connections associated with frustration and fear. The more you complain, the more automatic it becomes. Neuroscientists call this the Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So your brain gets better at seeing problems versus seeing possibilities. Ever been around somebody like that? Every time you're around somebody, skepticism, cynicism. You can tell now for a good majority of the day, they've wired themselves to be a complainer versus an entrepreneur versus somebody that's accomplished something in life. They see the opportunity of something. Same situation, same item that they're looking at, two different perspectives based on what? How they think. That's what I've always said. The way you think things is going to determine the way you see things. The way you see things is going to change the way you do things. The way you do things, the moment you change the way you do things reflects what? The difference in the results that you get in your life for the rest of your life. However, let's do the flip side. If you focus on a creative state, that's what I got from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. How many guys ever read that? Put it in the comment section below. If you've read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you see he had two different dads. His dad, his natural dad, his DNA related to dad, he was the poor dad. Go to school, get good grades, be a PhD, be secure for the rest of your life. But his best friend's dad, his rich dad, who's an entrepreneur, doesn't have a high school, just has a high school diploma, no college degree. He became one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Hawaii in sugar plantations. He called him his rich dad. Because when you focus on solutions, dopamine and serotonin rise in your brain. And what does that do for you? Instead of, what's the other one? Instead of cortisol. The moment you start asking, okay, how can I do this? Instead of saying, I can't afford it, you start saying, how can I afford it? Guess what gets injected into your brain? Naturally, dopamine and serotonin rise. You trigger motivation and serotonin, which is well-being. And these chemicals, what do? They open up the prefrontal cortex. You start ideating, you start thinking about things that you can do versus things you can't do. It restores your focus, it restores clarity. And guess what that does? It restores courage, deepens faith. And what happens is you activate problem-solving networks in your brain, in your attitude, in your disposition. The fancy word here is the anterior cingulate cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. How's that for some medical talk? These are the same areas that engage during prayer, gratitude, and planning. Interesting. So spiritually and scientifically, faith and forward thinking share the same neurological pathways. Guys, this is science. Let's talk about biblical, though. Philippians 2, verse 14. Do all things without grumbling or arguing. Romans 12, verse 2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, God wired us to create through prayer and supplication, not complain. That's the devil's playground. The Garden of Eden, think about this. Was the Garden of Eden in the Bible filled with things that weren't created? The Garden of Eden wasn't lost by lack of provision. It was lost by Adam and Eve having misplaced focus. They focused in on themselves versus focused in on God. Complaining will flood you with cortisol and kill all forms of creativity. But gratitude and solutions will flood your brain with dopamine and faith. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. What do you want to do? What would you rather do? So, question for you, going forward, what are you going to do? Put in the comment section. What are you going to do to make sure you trigger yourself that when push comes to shove, you trigger not complaining, but you trigger praise? That's an easy way to do it, right? Instead of triggering complaining, you trigger praise. You cross yourself across an area that doesn't please you and say, thank God, thank you, Lord, for trusting me with this problem. Lord, engage with me, the thought process, the faith-filled solutions that you want me to expose in this situation. That should be a prayer. Woo! How many guys are going to start changing the way you think things? I hope so. Put it in the comment section. Change the way I think things. Put in the comment section. To my friends in real estate, there's some trends that you got to know. That's why I'm on this Keep the Keys book tour. Not just to talk to homeowners and real estate investors. I'm talking to realtors, loan officers, which in my opinion, y'all going to be replaced by AI somehow, some way. And what happens when that happens? Reduce your commission, reduce your opportunity. In a way, it's kind of like that right now. That's why a lot of people I've been talking to in real estate, when I was in Tucson, Arizona, this lady said, wow, you guys make money in 45 minutes? It takes me 45 days to make money in real estate. She's getting her insurance license. And here's why. Let me just refresh this. Take a look at what this guy says about AI trends.
Real estate agents in the next 3 years. Most real estate agents are still in play mode. So how they use ChatGPT is very conversational. Whereas top real estate agents are starting to use AI by the minute. It's now becoming a level of functionality in their business. You can implement AI into your real estate business is like this. This is exactly what my top agents are doing. They input the address and the neighborhood into ChatGPT, and then they use this exact prompt. I just took this listing. Tell me the highlights of the neighborhood. Pull demographic data for this neighborhood. I'm trying to find the ideal buyer. Be able to market to. If I live there, what would the lifestyle be? What are the school ratings? Identify cons to living in this neighborhood and identify objection handlers for those cons. Craft a modern marketing plan for this listing. Play the role of expert marketer and top listing agent. Goal is to get as many offers as possible. Add a neighborhood farming strategy for the listing. Based on that prompt, it's going to give you a full analysis of the neighborhood so that you'll be able to understand the target buyer for that listing. This is going to help you create and craft a story to get as many buyers through that front door as possible. Then implement your marketing plan. Follow for more value.
I love it. I love it. And then add into a prompt. How do I create more value with my clients in between closings? Guess what's going to come up? Let's actually do that. Is there a way we can look at my screen? Okay. So let's see how. Let's see here. Keep the keys. Let me start a brand new. So here you go. Let's just do this for exercise. How can real estate agents increase cash flow in between closings? Note that I have a book called Keep the Keys. Would this help? Okay, let's take a look at this. Because I love my real estate agents. I love my realtors, love my loan officers. So here it says, most agents appear on a feast or famine cycle. When deals close, money flows. When they don't, stress builds. This happens because they solely rely on commissions. They lack residual or recurring income streams. They have poor systems for monetizing their existing database. So I hear 5 ways real estate agents can use the concepts from Keep the Keys to smooth their income curve and stabilize the cash flow. Number 1, monetize the financial gaps you already see. Every home buyer and seller you serve faces financial decisions before and after the transaction of buying a home, such as mortgage protection, debt restructuring, retirement rollovers, life insurance, and living benefits. By getting licensed or partnering with a financial professional, you can add value and income beyond the closing table. Number 2, offer home equity protection strategies. You teach people how to own without being owned. Real estate agents can educate their clients on how to protect home equity through real estate liquidity tools like Index Universal Life or Annuities, creating a service that earns referral or direct compensation. 3, adding recurring revenue streams. They can add memberships or education programs, home ownership readiness, financial literacy for home buyers, first-time home buyers. That brings in small, consistent income between closings. 4, build a referral network of trusted pros like myself. I love to inject what we know with our real estate professionals. And last but not least, number 5, leverage content and education. Turn key chapters from Keep the Keys into short-term videos, reels, and lead magnets. This not only positions you as an educator, it drives DMs, leads, and partnership conversations that turns into commissions. I agree. Let's go. Because one thing to get the keys, it's another thing to keep the keys. Let's go. So I'll be in my next tour stop of Keep the Keys. I'll be in Houston this Thursday. So I'll do Wednesday, Cigars with the Whiskey here in Dallas. This Thursday, I'll be in Houston. Looking forward to Craig and Maritza Thomas hosting us there. And afterwards, we have a Cigars Q&A mastermind after that too as well. I've been having a blast on these Keep the Keys book to get to see a lot of new people in different cities and states. Got to see a lot of new faces, a lot of concerned citizens about their job. For example, I was just in Tucson, Arizona. A lot of engineers are over there. I was just in Fredericksburg, Virginia. A lot of veterans are over there. Everybody's got a common problem, common issue wherever I go. And thank God you're there at the Keep the Keys event. Why? Because that shows you are not a complainer, but you're a person finding solutions. It causes the brain to activate. Proud of you guys. I'll see you guys in Houston for Keep the Keys book tour. Go to his website here to get access to the event and get the address to we're hosting it in Houston, Texas. Also, by the way, also this Saturday, I'll be in Dallas. Here, our local office here in Carrollton, Texas. So if you're not in Houston, I'll be in Dallas here this Saturday, November 15th. All right. Speaking of life insurance, this young lady here brought up life insurance to Angel Reese, former standout LSU basketball player at LSU, now with the Chicago Sky WNBA player. So let's take a look at this.
Life insurance.
Okay.
Let me clock that.
Life insurance.
We need to get life insurance.
That's important.
Going to school for mortuary science and having this apprenticeship, working at these funeral homes. There's so many people who scramble when things happen because they like to pretend like nobody dies, and then somebody dies and everybody's like, oh, shit, what we gonna do?
Yeah.
We ain't got no money saved up.
That's true.
Try to do us a little GoFundMe, a little fish fry. For real. And it's like we don't prepare for these life events. We don't prepare for, we're not prepared enough.
Yeah.
And I want to clock that. And I don't want to offend nobody, step on nobody's toes, but I just want to urge everybody
Find a way.
to get some type of insurance to make sure that everybody is covered. Shit happens. And the minute we come to terms with that, we'll be able to move forward as a collective. So black people, get some goddamn insurance. ASAP.
And goddamn, it's God blessed. God blessed is a financial tool that everybody can take advantage of. Like, question I ask a lot of people in my Keep the Keys book tour. I say, who's in their 30s? Who doesn't know anything about life insurance? Who's not an agent with us? Who's not in a real estate business? You're just working at a job. You have no clue about what life insurance can do for your family. You don't know how much it costs. Raise your hands. So people raise their hands. I said, sir, do you own a home? You have a kid? Yeah. He goes, yeah, I got a kid. I got a wife, 2 kids. Awesome. How much life insurance do you have? He goes, I got none. You got no life insurance? You have a wife? You got kids? Yeah, I got none. This happens a lot on my Keep the Keys book tours. Okay. And so I asked him this question. Would you just pick up one day and leave your family and never come back? He goes, I'd absolutely wouldn't do that. So that's what happens when you buy no life insurance. The Lord has different plans for you and sadly calls you home. Guess what you just financially done to your family? You picked up and left, not returning. No phone call, no goodbye, no financial assistance. When you just went by, he wouldn't do that. Of course he wouldn't do that. That's what happens when you don't buy life insurance. So I asked another question. I said, how many guys think that life insurance is expensive? A lot of hands go up. People think that life insurance is expensive. Okay, so for those in your 30s that think life insurance is expensive, for a $1 million life insurance policy, $1 million, if $1 million goes to your beneficiary, your wife, your husband, your children, a financial institution, a college, a university, your church, was to receive that $1 million that you left behind, how much do you think that $1 million of tax-free cash, death benefit from the life insurance policy that would go to them under Section 101A of the IRS code, would go to them without them paying a dime in tax, but they get $1 million to use however they want to use it. No strings attached, outside the fact that you paying the premiums while you're alive. How much do you think a $1 million for a 30-year-old man or woman costs? Hands go up. $200 a month, $300 a month, $500 a month, one guy said in San Antonio. $500 a month for a $1 million life insurance policy. He runs a catering company. He goes, yep, okay. Roger that. Here's the real cost, though. What's that? I asked one of our insurance agents, how much does it cost for a 30-year-old man in his 30s who's healthy for a 30-year policy? You know what the answer was? $70 a month. He was shocked because he didn't think it was that cheap. That's what life insurance costs, everybody. It's very, like these insurance companies are daring you to buy life insurance. Now, don't take my word for it. You got to go find an insurance agent. If you need some help, drop a comment insurance in the comment section below. We'll find somebody to give you cheap, inexpensive term insurance that you should own for a minimum of 30 years. Somewhere along the line, you got to convert that term policy into a permanent policy. But in the meantime, while budget's tight, get you a cheap, inexpensive, low premium, high benefit term insurance policy with living benefits. And what's living benefit? Living benefit means if you have heart attack, stroke, or cancer, or Angel Reese, if you're listening to this, you get hurt, you can't perform 2 of the activities of daily living. You need some help around, and the doctors aren't really, you can hire yourself a nurse, a home health care provider to help you because you can't perform 2 of the activities of daily living. There's 6 of them. If you're later in life, you're done with the league. You're a professional athlete. Right now, you have access to doctors. This is what a lot of former professional athletes tell me. When I was playing in the league, had access to the best doctors. Out of league, hopefully I get a doctor. And so if you want the best quality of life after life of being in the military or professional sports, get you a life insurance policy with living benefits. And I just asked ChatGPT this, okay? What's one thing that funeral home directors wish their clients had before meeting them? Let's take a look at my iPad here. What funeral home directors wish their clients had before meeting them? It says right at the top. Number 1, a life insurance policy that's active and funded. They wish families didn't walk in a funeral home with grief and guilt, trying to find out how to pay for something that could have been handled long before. Every week we see families arguing over who's paying what. By the way, the fastest way to divide your siblings, to create some family chaos, is mom and dad, you pass away, you don't have a life insurance policy, you're guaranteed to create division within your children. There's going to be some heartache there. Why? Because one of the kids can't afford to pay, and they got to lean on the other siblings to pay. And then deep down inside, it causes resentment. 10 years ago, your auntie didn't pay for the funeral. Put it all on us. Yeah, don't invite her to the barbecue this weekend. Causes resentment. You want that? Is that your legacy? To cause division between your kids because of finances? Modern life insurance with living benefits could have eliminated 90% of the financial chaos they see after a death. Number 2, a written plan or a will. Number 3, and understanding how expensive death really is. Check this out. Most family think funerals cost between $3,000 and $5,000. In reality, all in costs of the service, casket, burial plot, flowers, often range from $10,000 to $20,000. So I'm speaking at this funeral this next Saturday. We went to the viewing of this deceased person. I can't mention to you the name. In politics, if I mention to you the name, you know exactly who they are. Anyway, I go to the funeral home, and this is the funeral home of the presidents in Washington D.C. Right? You had General Powell buried there, the Kennedys buried there, Bush Sr. buried there, all the who's who of Washington D.C. for the most part has been buried through this funeral home. Just to watch the viewing of this funeral that took place for that one act of honoring the deceased, $35,000. Not the funeral, just to be in the same position that Kennedy was back in the day, same place where we can come together, honor the deceased, shake hands with the family, the survivors. $35,000. So it's not cheap or free to die. It costs the people that you love and care about to raise $10,000 to $20,000 to bury you. It's not just the funerals, it's lost wages, travel, probate, and family stress, and it hits all at once. That's why funeral directors wish clients would meet a financial professional before tragedy to set up a final expense fund or a permanent life insurance policy. And last but not least, family conversation about legacy. They wish families didn't come by just to bury someone. They came knowing how that person wanted to be remembered. The best funerals are celebrations, not surprises. The families who talk early grieve better. Encouraging clients to talk about stewardship, values, and legacy, and not just money, makes the entire process healthier for everyone. By the way, this is one of the things I got here. It's too heavy to lift up. But behind here, I got my wills and trusts. It's the reason why it's behind here, because something happens to me, my family knows exactly where to go. And guess what? I've got a video from my family to watch when I pass away in a funeral home. And I got a DJ for my funeral. And they can play house music. Got to have house music all night long. We're going to play house music, and we're going to play some 90s R&B at my funeral. That's right. Everybody's going to, I'm going to turn my funeral into karaoke hour, man. Filipino style, Magic Mike. I want people to have fun. I want people celebrating my life, not mourning my death. Why? Because I've already planned for that stuff. My wife's planned for that stuff. And I want our family to come together to create memories. And I want our family to be known for something that multiplies our family generation, not divides or takes away. You know, my descendants to be excited to know we lived a full life. We lived a life of contribution, gratitude, and stewardship. That being said, guys, as I wrap up this millionaire response, what's your biggest takeaway? What's your thoughts about this? Every Tuesday, we're here to talk about what's going on in society. By the way, before I go, hats off, salute to my veterans. It's our day. Thank you for your service. Now, don't just sit in line for your free Applebee's or your free meal today. See, that mentality is also not a progressive mentality. So forget the complaint. The next worst attitude I would see is to get away from the complainer mentality. The other one is the let me get what I can for free mentality, because it doesn't cause your brain to be creative, to be prosperous. You're always looking for something else to hand things out to you versus you creating your own table, creating your own seat at the table, and having everybody come to eat at your table. I think that's the ultimate for me. That being said, guys, happy Veterans Day. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here at 7 Figure Squad. And also, that's cool. That's a cool little banner there, right? Cigars with the Whiskey, the new financial frontier I'll be discussing. Two parts. It starts tomorrow at 6:30 to 9:30. Get your tickets here. Scan the QR code and get your ticket. We got premium tickets, VIP tickets, and elite tickets. Tomorrow, November 12th, here in Frisco, Texas. We got people flying in from all across the country to be here. Last time around, we had a guy flying all the way in from Toronto, Canada. Two-part series. I will reveal a special guest speaker for my February 12th, 2026 one. So again, this is a two-part series, November 12th. The second one will be November 12th, based on Dallas, the new financial frontier. For you to make sure you don't get hurt by what's going on here, the wealth that's being accumulated here, that you don't get left behind. You get it ahead of what's going on to create opportunity for you. If you don't so yet, make sure you download our album, Music by Milian, called The Movement. my AI alter ego, I guess, my AI son, music that's filled with entrepreneurship, lyrics, financial literacy, lyrics, life insurance, lyrics. We created the first ever song about life insurance, the first ever life insurance video about the importance of life insurance for the first time in history in the life insurance industry. We did that through using AI. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you download. It's called The Movement. Put in all your songs when you're uploading songs here on your IG stories or on social media. That being said, guys, had a blast again with you here this Tuesday afternoon. If I don't see you at Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey, if I don't see you to Keep the Keys on Thursday here in Houston, again, Keep the Keys here in Dallas, I'll see you next Tuesday here, Millionaire Response, on the 7 Figure Squad YouTube channel. That being said, please drop your biggest takeaways in the comment section below. Subscribe, and until we meet again, continue smart, and be money smart today. God bless you guys. Bye-bye, bye-bye.